Hello, and thank you for joining. My name is Jason Cordell. I'm a BigFix technical advisor here at HCL Software, and I'd like to take a few moments today to discuss BigFix as a managed service. So I'm just going to jump right in. The agenda for this session is, breaking down into a few different categories. Who is this for? What is BigFix? Digging into the offering itself, what it includes, and then talking more about the locations and the security controls around it, and then jumping into a demonstration into portions of the BigFix suite of tools. So who is this for? Companies that have devices that need managed. There's not a minimum number or a maximum number. BigFix scales to massive infrastructures. We have a tremendous number of huge customers leveraging BigFix today. And the location of the devices is irrelevant. Inside the network, outside the network, in the living room, over VPN, not over VPN. Regardless of where the device is, the device can be managed with BigFix through a unified set of management tools. So companies that are looking to have someone host the solution for them. That way they don't have to manage the infrastructure, stand up the infrastructure, all that type of stuff. As well as managing the care and feeding of the tools themselves, keeping the tools running properly, designed, implemented properly, all of those types of things. We're taking care of all of those for you. As well as companies that are looking to leverage BigFix. BigFix is an extremely well-known industry-leading endpoint management solution with a tremendous amount of capabilities across a wide different set of areas. In short, folks who want to use the best of breed tools to secure their devices in the most reliable and efficient way possible, and want someone to take care of the care and feeding of the environment for them. We manage it and maintain it. You use it. So what is BigFix? For those that don't know, again, best of breed endpoint management tools for managing Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, and mobile devices. Managing at scale, securely, in very near real-time management of the devices. Again, regardless of the location of the device. Industry-leading capabilities. As Forrester, Gartner, excuse me, analysts of that nature, we've received a large number of awards around the innovations in the security space in device management that we have. So tremendous value in the tools. They're very well established. The biggest high point of the tools is continuous evaluation, continuous enforcement capabilities. We're not doing scans of the machines once a day, once a week, once a month. We know what the current status of the device is, if it's compliant with whatever topic we're talking about, and if it's not, we can move it into compliance automatically at scale. Again, BigFix has a tremendous number of feature function capabilities. We're not going to get into all of them in this short session, but I've got a few that we're going to go over. And all of this happens from one single agent running over one single port, and the footprint of that agent is extremely low. So BigFix has a tremendous amount of native automation capabilities. That's the only way to get better at life from an endpoint management perspective is to leverage automation. Automatically determine the state of the device, automatically provide guidance and remediation capabilities, and automatically deploy those and set them to enforce automatically as we deem fit as the administrators of the environment. So BigFix can know what the device looks like, and we can fix a tremendous amount of things. We're not just giving you, tons of reports and spreadsheets telling you what's wrong. We're actually fixing the problems. So jumping into the managed service, what is it? It's a hosted infrastructure hosted by HCL Technologies, who is an industry leader in this space for infrastructure provisioning and management. And again, customers that have devices that need managed, minimum one endpoint. That number seems kind of low, but realistically, any environment where they want to outsource the infrastructure as a service. And again, nothing required on the infrastructure side. The devices will report in securely and become managed. And then all of the feature function type capabilities, which we'll get into here in a few, will be automatically available within minutes to the machines. We can deploy a BigFix infrastructure in a very short period of time, and within minutes know the current state of the environment and begin addressing and remediating problems immediately. So we can get to the meat of things very, very quickly within an infrastructure. So the offering, includes all the software entitlements required, the initial deployment services, the hosting services, as well as the application management services, meaning that we're going to take care of the infrastructure. We're going to stand it up and make sure you're properly licensed for everything. And then we're going to maintain things moving forward, the infrastructure as well as the application itself. Again, providing all of the care and feeding on the uh, app side of things to make sure that the tools are responsive and available and doing what they're supposed to do in a proper and timely manner. We own all of those pieces, and you as the customer would be leveraging the tools to do what you need to do within the environment to address the issues, patching, vulnerability, hardening, all that type of stuff. BigFix is, again, we've been around for a long time, used by a tremendous number of customers, managing a tremendous number of devices across the globe, including from a managed perspective, where it's HCL managing them or other third parties managing them as well. BigFix fits into this space extremely nicely. Again, one port, one agent to do all of the communications. It's secure, it's very fast, and it scales very, very high. Just more specific details around the management. I'm not going to read all these to you. Knock yourselves out. Again, we're going to take care of the infrastructure and provide all of the pieces related to that, and make sure that there's backups and security and all of those things around the infrastructure itself, and then managing the application. Just a quick touch on the service level objectives. You can see them here on the screen. 24/7, 365, a single support portal for all support tickets, whether it's the application itself or the hosting environment. It's all one throat to choke, if you will. And touching on locations globally, you can see where we've got the various data centers in the cloud and managing all the different areas from there. And you can see on the right-hand side where we're expanding that in the very near future as well. So just a couple of things around the data and security. We would securely connect the BigFix infrastructure to your infrastructure, and then make sure that all the data is encrypted, at rest and in transit, and all of these normal things that you would expect from a highly secured infrastructure. And then a couple different data center SOC or certifications, including SOC 2 Type 2. So I'm going to jump into some of the portions of the tools. I'm going to go over some basic patch management stuff. Again, that the core of securing the infrastructure is patching. It's boring, it's monotonous, so let's just automate it and let the tools do what they do. Both OS and third-party patching as well. And then we're going to get into some more of the pieces around the security of the infrastructure. Our cyber focus analytics capabilities, tremendous visibility from a few different aspects there. Vulnerability scanner integration. So your existing vulnerability scanner, Qualys, Tenable, Rapid7, insert other tool name here. We can integrate with those automatically and do correlation against what the vulnerability scanner found versus what BigFix is able to see and fix within the environment. It makes the how do I get from the vulnerability being identified to me solving the problem and remediating it? It dramatically shrinks that timeline required. And then we're going to touch a little bit on the regulatory controls and benchmarks, CIS, DISISTIG, PCI, that type of stuff, both reporting and remediation capabilities. And then just a quick touch on some software asset management pieces. So I'm going to jump into the tools, and I've got my BigFix interface here. So going through the patching pieces first, if I go in and just take a quick look at the patching content, I've got this filtered down to applicable relevant content within the environment. So relevant devices in here, 3,800 different pieces of content. And you see that some of this is patches, some of it is related to patches, like setting with the network share for Office if we're deploying Office patches from a SharePoint on a server and things of that nature. But if I were to quickly filter this through to see, let's see what kind of named Patch Tuesday type patches I have applicable in the environment. I've got 136 that are currently applicable in the environment. And if I were to say, let's deploy these, it's going to walk me through the deployment interface where it's showing my content. I've got some pieces here. It's going to give me all the details around them. If I need to see additional information, I've got these pieces here. And then from here, I could walk through a deployment workflow. I'm not going to do that. And I can see various pieces here don't have a default action set. These are typically SQL Server patches due to the way that SQL Server patches install. So I would typically do SQL patching separately. But let me go back. I want to show one more thing on this screen. In addition to all of the patches, if I remove this filter, one of the important pieces of BigFix that we have for patching is, we've got Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix, a ton of different operating systems, and you can see we've also got ESU stuff in here for Red Hat and Windows. So beyond just the currently supported operating system patches, but beyond that, we've got a category for Windows patches or for extended third-party patches. And again, if I get rid of my relevant devices here, I've got 407 different pieces of content. And if I sort this by name, you can see that there's just a ton of stuff available. So again, going above and beyond just the normal OS related patches, I've got an extensive library of third-party patching. This is all automatically out of the box. As we create content, it's automatically pulled into your environment, automatically evaluated by machines, and the applicability is automatically sent up to the application server within minutes. So if I take a little bit deeper dive on the patching processes, again, let's automate things. Let the tools do what they do. So we would start off by creating patch policies, automation for patch deployments in the environment, setting the guide rails, what types of patches, just the security patches, the patch severity, excluding patches with, .NET or SQL or Java or things like that in the titles, and then setting my, guide rails on my patching highway, and then laying out my deployment schedules from here. So you can see, as I built this out, my patch rollout on Patch Thursday, and then, as I'm going through the different areas of the production environment. This can be built out, whatever your patching processes are today, we can build this out in here easily. And then we flip the switch to activate this. Flip the switch, let it do its thing. And then as this goes through on a monthly basis, or shorter than that if we choose, and I'll get into that here in a second, but this is typically updated on a monthly basis. So that way it just automatically rolls through the patch deployment process. Let me take care of the bulk of the patching, all the Patch Tuesday stuff, if you will. Let me just automate those pieces in a controlled manner where I've got good reporting and details around what's happening. And again, I can control exclusions. I can do this for the third-party patching as well. A great example is browsers. A lot of customers, will patch browsers more often than once a month because a new patch for a browser comes out every other day. So we can take this same methodology and just have browsers included in the list and have this execute on a weekly basis or a daily basis if we chose to. So there's a tremendous amount of capabilities there. So we're going to leverage all of these automation capabilities to take care of the bulk of the patching. And then that allows us to spend more time focusing on the rest of the pieces that actually matter to us. So switching topics to our cyber focus analytics, we've got visibility and views from the environment from a couple different views. And I've kind of scrolled down some. The first tab is the MITRE APTs, or Advanced Persistent Threat Groups. So based upon and this is all data live from my environment. This is not tied to a vulnerability scanner. This is data that BigFix is seeing and collecting live from the machines. And these are the different threat actor groups that I have that I'm currently vulnerable to. And as I hover over different ones of these, you can see their preferred low-hanging attack vectors, and I can see what's applicable within the environment. But this also allows me to play what-if scenarios. So if I were to go through and remove some of these, you can see this one here. This is my biggest bang for the buck visually. So if I go through and remove the rest of these items, I can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different threat actor groups that I'm vulnerable to right now based upon this one specific CVE. So if I focus my efforts on this one vulnerability, I just reduce the risks from 6 known threat actor groups. And just because I could see that visually, maybe there's a lot more information on the screen, but we also have some tooltips that are going to say that basically the same thing. My attack surface from these threat actor groups, from the MITRE perspective, goes down 52.2% if I address this one single vulnerability. So going above and beyond just the patches and the basic stuff, this is giving me visibility here to let me focus on the important things in the environment. Let me, once I've got the patch policies in place, I'm instantly going to go start addressing this one anywhere that I can. Remove that attack surface. Looking at the content from a similar but different perspective, this is CISA-KEV, CISA, the security organization, known exploited vulnerabilities. So what the bad guys are known to attack in the wild, and this is showing me different vulnerabilities from that perspective in a bubble chart flow. So the darker the color, the worse the risk is. The bigger it is, the more machines and the more risk. The higher it up it is in the chart, the more machines are impacted. And you can see the chart on the left side. This is also a timeline from the right-hand side being current time, moving backwards in time to the left. So I can see, looking here, I've got one vulnerability from 2020 that's affecting one machine in this environment. It's been around for 4+ years. So think about the types of people that you hear in the newspaper, that they patched all the machines, but they missed a couple, and they sat there with known vulnerabilities that were actively exploited, and they ended up with their name in the newspaper. This is going to give us visibility to allow us to start addressing things like this from normally when you get vulnerability information, it's a massive spreadsheet and you can't filter through anything in a useful manner. So the visual displays here help significantly. So again, I've automated the core of my patching. Let's focus on things like this. And if I go up a little bit further, the next tab over is our PLAs, or protection level agreements. Based upon agreements that I've established within the environment in different business units, I can say these are my anticipated guidelines for when I'm going to deploy patches in the environment, and I can customize these further as well. So the way we have this set up currently is based upon the type of patch and the grouping of those containers, if you will. And give it a couple more seconds for this to finish loading. And I can see visually, where I'm meeting my goals and where I'm not meeting my goals. And if I go down a little bit further, I've got all of the same data in grid format showing me the numbers there. So it makes it really easy for me to determine if I'm meeting whatever goals we've agreed to internally. Another important piece is the initiatives piece. So once we've filtered out and we've looked at the previous tabs, we've come up with a list of vulnerabilities that we want to actually address. And this is our extracurricular homework that we're taking on, if you will. This initiatives report allows me to feed a custom list of CVEs and measure my risk against the environment. And the group that I've selected here is also persona related. So I've broken this down based upon a business unit within the environment. And you can see I've got finance, IT, and support. The source of truth for this is coming from ServiceNow inside of this environment. So the business units assigned that these devices are assigned to in there, we're pulling that in and correlating against it. But I can see based upon the list of CVEs that I've selected, this is the guy with the most impact in my environment. And like the other pieces, as I hover over these, it's going to give me the information about them below. So this is our cyber focus analytics, again, meant to give you the ability to see what you really need to focus on to start reducing risk in the environment. Blasting out 10 billion patches in a month gives you no visibility against the actual risk. So this is one of the reasons that we've gone this way. We also have the ability to search, again, tying back to the spreadsheet, if you will, take your list of CVEs, or in this case, going against the CISA-KEV list. Again, BOD 2201, binding operational directives for the feds, meaning that they're supposed to do this in a given timeline, typically 30 days. So this allows me to, again, compare my environment against this and filtering down to just what's currently applicable within the environment. And I can see that there's 205 different CVEs. If I wanted to take this and be able to build a deployment from this to work the deployment schedule from this perspective, again, I go through and I've used the same interface, and I can then have the option to create the content. So this is, and again, I would never do this in a production environment to just blindly address all the vulnerabilities. That's not going to be good. We need to be thoughtful and pay attention to what we're actually deploying here. But for the CVEs that I actually want to address, this is going to build a list for this and throw in all of the components for these pieces. So at a blind stab here, all of those different vulnerabilities that I selected, the 214 from the previous list, there's 363 pieces of applicable content within the environment. And you can see that there's a wide variety of stuff included here. Again, I would never, deploy this in this manner. I'd be a lot more prescriptive about what I'm actually selecting, because there are some vulnerabilities that if we address them, it's potentially going to break things within the environment. So one more piece here that we have, this is our integration with the vulnerability scanners. We call it Insights for Vulnerability Remediation. And if I switch these over to looking at the vulnerability priority rating. So we have this integrated with Tenable inside of this infrastructure. And the vulnerability priority rating is their secret sauce for risk within the infrastructure. Again, looking beyond just the CVSS scores. So the graphical charts at the top, looking at this, Tenable is telling me, hey, this is the guy that I need to address first. I could click on that and see below. Or if I can, I could click on the, hey, let's focus on the critical pieces. And down below, I've got a data grid of all of the different pieces. So if I were to just click on the critical piece, that's going to show me all of the things on the left-hand side, focused from the vulnerability perspective. So this top row, server 2012 vulnerability, ties back to 61 different CVEs. So simplifying my view. So I can take this one CVE, and if I check any of these boxes here, I get the option to remediate. And if I were to walk through this, it's going to show me that there's 70 different pieces of content related to that one vulnerability in my environment. And if I throw a number 1 in here to filter down to just the applicables, there's 5 pieces of content related to this specific vulnerability in my environment. If I were to select those and looking here, I can see that these, 4 of these are related to Windows, 1's related to Red Hat. I would typically deploy these separately, different platforms, have different maintenance windows and things like that. So if I were to just pick the Windows ones, it's going to say, hey, here's my, ability to schedule this. Here's all the applicable devices in the environment. I could select all of those. And then as I go through, it's going to offer me, hey, when do I want to do this? Do I want to, reboot after I'm done? All those types of things. Again, pay attention to what you're actually addressing. Do your research. If I were to take a look at these, again, it's going to give me the description about them, and it's going to, actually, I can't get there from this server, but it's going to give me the ability to go through and see different, or see the vendors' requisite information from there. Jumping topics back to our agenda. Looking at the hardening of devices. So CIS, DISASTIG, USGCB, FDCC, PCI, including PCI 4.0. There's a tremendous amount of regulatory compliance controls that we have out of the box, Windows, Mac, Linux, Unix. And not only do we have tremendous analytics around our reporting of the state of the environment, we also have the ability to remediate the vast majority of things. So if I were to just randomly click on any of these, digging into our regulatory controls, you can see that we've got 20 different checklists enabled in the environment. And you can see on the right-hand side that most of these are small portions of the checklist. But as I'm looking, anything that's in blue, it's going to show me where my compliance currently is, current date on the right, and then where it's been moving backwards in time throughout it. So if I go down here, we have a HIPAA checklist, a recent addition to the environment. That's why I don't have much history about this. But there's 424 checks that are being evaluated by 10 different machines. So if overall, my compliance with this full HIPAA checklist is 38%. If I click on the 10 computers, that's going to show me my individual compliance for each of these systems. And again, there's no real historical information here because this has recently been enabled. But it's going to show me where my compliance is. I can turn on additional columns, like if the total compliance, total non-compliance, and let's see the checks. So depending on the report that I'm in, I can add additional columns to my view. I can save these, all that type of stuff. So I wanted to see the non-compliant checks against this specific server. I can see all of this information in here. And again, depending on the report that I'm in, I can add additional details. So if I go back to my overview, one of the areas where this comes in really handy is from a PCI perspective. For anyone that's gone through a PCI audit, they can be significantly painful. But I can go through and add additional columns here. So from a audit reporting perspective, I can see precisely where my compliance is against the specific line items in the different categories. So it makes an audit compliance report tremendously valuable. And again, the vast majority of these things I can also remediate, not just report. So once we determine these are the things that we actually want to increase our compliance on to move into the overall compliance, I can create these deployments from existing out-of-the-box content within the environment, and then I can move machines into compliance. Again, fully automatically. Again, BigFix continuous evaluation, continuous enforcement of policy, whatever policy I choose to have that be. So jumping back to the final topic is our inventory overview. So software asset management. This is, you can see in these two different pieces here, we've got a tremendous amount of information in our software catalog. And if I go to this view here, it's breaking things down into a wide variety of different areas. We've got a lot of canned reports out of the box, including Microsoft and Oracle reports and IBM. We're an authorized license audit tool for Oracle, Microsoft, and IBM. So again, we can take it, and those tools or those applications from those vendors can be tremendously difficult to evaluate from an inventory perspective. We've got a tremendous amount of stuff out of the box to make those audits dramatically easier. And lets you get ahead of them and know if you're in compliance prior to the vendor showing up. And you can see, looking at the boxes here, we've got a lot of different stuff, out of the box to, showing you, hey, here's a whole bunch of software that we found that's currently out of support. So letting me look from a software perspective, what I need to focus on upgrading or removing within the environment to get rid of end-of-life software. But just quickly touching on a couple of these, if I go into the software summaries, this is going to show all of the different applications that I found in the environment. And I can also automatically track, software that's being used. We're tracking all of the processes running on the machines. We're feeding those through the software catalog and other pieces to identify what's actually installed, whether it's, in add remove programs or others. So again, I can see the total number of instances, and if I were to click on any of these, it'll take me into the details of those. But this is a great example here. This is Beartail. This is a standalone executable, so it's not going to show up in add remove programs, but I can see that it's been used a lot of times, and I can see the individual machines that have used them. And if I go into my view here, again, like the other reports, I can add different fields to my view, see the total runs, and let's see when it's last used and our average runtime per day for fun. So we can see all that information in here. And the important piece here, like Beartail, it's notoriously found in different user profiles. So you can see, looking at the names here, we're searching across the entire file system to identify applications. So this is going to give us a tremendous amount of visibility. Maybe this is a freeware application, maybe it's a licensed application, and I'm getting ready to get in trouble if I were to become audited from this vendor because I've got tons of copies all over the place that maybe I wasn't aware of, because again, this is a standalone application. So any of these topics we could go tremendously deeper in. This is meant to be a short overview showing some highlights around the managed offering itself, as well as the core capabilities that are included. And again, there are others that are included with the BigFix platform. There's a lot of other things that BigFix does that we haven't discussed on this call. But I want to say thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it. Have a great day.